Good afternoon again. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're going to get to the JRC here in a minute, but before we do, the disclaimers and the trigger warnings. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, pertinent links are going to be there in the description box. Autisticoia's massive archive is in there as always, where we get the bulk of the material in regards of the JRC for this channel. We got Neuroclastic's article, the one where they interviewed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. It is the one that the JRC actually threatened to sue Neuroclastic over if they didn't take it off their website. Obviously, Neuroclastic said no. Please read the article. Share it on all your social media. We do have Neuroclastic's GoFundMe linked in there in case the JRC ever does see through with their threat, because unlike them, we don't have access to unlimited money. More's the pity, right? Just on a beach with a giant mountain of books that are like almost arching over me with my cat next to me. This crap sucks. This saying is all. Just saying. Anyways. Trigger warnings. When we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please go ahead and utilize the headphones. Also, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity and speak on dark subjects. If your child's 16 and younger and watching this, goodness. Parental supervision is very much advised. Also, we're delving into the stupid again. The JRC's special brand of crazy Kool-Aid drinkers. Who I am beginning to have a hypothesis whenever they respond to anything negative against the JRC, use this copy and paste method. It's the only way that any of what they continue to put out year after year, decade after decade, makes any form of sense. Making the same claims that evidence was not sufficient enough. We've got ER, video surveillance footage, documents, and photos. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. I don't know. But when reading their stupid, I have a tendency to curse a lot. And yell. And get triggered myself a lot. So, just kind of prepare yourselves for that. I'm apologizing for it in advance. Alright, next paragraph. Before we turn into comment 2, which is going to tell me, no, you have to trust us, you're the experts. Don't look at the video surveillance. You don't need to read the ER documents. Second paragraph, right? Yeah. Moreover, in a case where a crucial issue is whether the patients are entitled to individualized medicine rather than across-the-board treatment, it is remarkable that the FDA has declined to make individual assessments of the needs of the conditions of and the treatment methods used for the 55 patients who currently receive GED treatment. Jesus fucking Christ, JRC, stop the bullshit. Please stop the bullshit. Let's talk about what cookie cutter treatment is versus what it isn't, shall we? Your medicine is not individualized. At all. Not even remotely. Would you like to know how I know that? Let's start with those kids you specifically target to put on the GED device, shall we? Shall we just? every single person that is put on the device, of course, have AB and SIB, correct? Not everybody that has SIB or AB is autistic. Behavioral issues can pop up because there's mental health issues that need to be taken care of. They can pop up because a completely different developmental disability. It could come from trauma if they're coming out of an abusive household and are having behavioral issues and they get sent to a place like the JRC. Yeah. About that though. Because we know SIB and AB also show up in other diagnoses, both developmentally disabled as well as those of us with mental health issues, it actually surprises me that the JRC continues to insist that the only thing that actually works is inflicting more violence on them. Because that's not what the data shows in the real world, JRC. What's cookie cutter is you have a group of kids. They have behavioral issues, SIB and AB. Because of that, regardless of what diagnosis the kid may actually have, you don't even take that into your notice, JRC. Since you brought up the topic, let's talk about it. JRC, why do you believe that these 55 kids that you have on the device, all of them, as you say, with different diagnoses, literally the only thing they have in common is some form of self-injury or aggressive behavior? Why is putting them on a human shock device, regardless of what their own individual diagnosis may be or what triggers are causing those behaviors, you insist to put them on that device? You see, in individualized care, you would take each individual consumer on their own specific diagnoses. So what that means is, just because you have a group of kids of SIB and AB does not mean they all require the exact same type of interventions, or even that the same types of interventions are going to work on all of them, because their diagnoses are different. Individualized medicine would look to the individual, and I'll say it for the billionth time, start working to uncover what is triggering the behaviors. Because if we're talking separate diagnoses here, in particular JRC, how that affects the behaviors and what could be possibly tripping off those triggers could be extremely different from one consumer or another. So why are we insisting that they all have to go on to a shock device? Wouldn't real individualized medicine be that you would work one-on-one in concert with a circle of other supporters, case managers, counselors, neurologists, psychiatrists, and psychologists, and all work together in an effort to uncover what those triggers are, if reasonable accommodations would help with at least some of them, self-soothing techniques, things of that nature, to best help that individual person in regards to their diagnoses. That's what individualized medicine is. Okay? It's not taking a group of kids, your words, not ours, JRC, that all have different diagnoses, The only thing they have in common is SIB and AB. Your words, not ours. And yet, you subject them to the exact same treatment without even knowing or realizing whether the same types of interventions are going to work for such a variety of diagnoses as you're alleging or not. The only people engaging in across-the-board treatment here, JRC, is you. Okay? Spare me the nonsense. I have been in this field in some way, shape, or form far too long to not call people out on their bullshit. So, let's go again. We're going to finish this up. This is going to be a bit of a shorter video. The FDA has failed in its obligation to consider all available data and information to sustain its burden of proof. Let's go over that again, shall we? JRC, you brought forth clinical studies from the 60s, 70s, what have you, times gone by, to support overall kind of electrical skin shock treatment. The old SIBIS, right? Clinical studies that have zero to do with the device in question because the device in question did not exist yet. Not really the best thing to have corroborating your so-called miraculous device now, is it? Okay, but all the available data says any data that exists after the 1980s has only come from the JRC. JRC, have you ever heard of confirmation bias? It is in your best interest when conducting a clinical study on your own device that you defined that it's safe and effective. It's your device, you're the ones testing it. You've got a dog in the fight. Okay? Well. The reason why there's no other data outside of yours after the 1980s is every single research center, clinic, and university who conducts studies on this level have turned it down in alphabetical order. That's including Yale. You remember Yale? They conducted the study back in 2016 of shooting radiation in the back part of an autistic kid's head to see if it would help with behaviors. Even they cited major ethical concerns into regards to why they refused to conduct that study. Your data, and we've gone over it on this channel, JRC, is not worth the poor trees that had to die for you to print it out. Your insanity. It kind of looks like a weird bad acid trip with a bad acid trip sitting down with the world's worst Ross Perot imitator. I don't know. But it wasn't any kind of clinical study that I could recognize as one. There were no controls. There was no explanations in regards to what else was a part of the kids in the study's overall treatment programs, as well as the GED. There was no follow-up to determine whether the so-called changes that you put in those kids' paperwork were able to follow them and create lifelong positive changes long after they were no longer on the device or at the JRC. We just have your token testimonies, your testimonials. Whoever does PR for JRC, you all suck. Oh my God, there were better promos for Jerry Springer in the 90s when they were talking about, it was just bad, right? Not only did we provide proof, we provided the best kind. Cold, hard evidence in regards to injuries already sustained by students rushed to ER by JRC staff, no less. The data, at least that's not beyond a gazillion years old, doesn't exist to back up your guys' insane whatever the hell that clinical study was supposed to look like. Because everybody else cites major human rights and ethical concerns in regards to even thinking about conducting such a study. Don't piss on me and tell me it's raining, JRC. Okay? I guess that's what we're trying to get at here. And on that kind of gross thought, we're going to go ahead and close it out, folks, for this one. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do get tend to get removed from time to time. Please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Please don't forget to hit the comments. I appreciate your time. As always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Again, I'll see you all in a few minutes. Bye-bye, everyone.